So, I'll talk a little bit about me picking up Peach. Um, so, originally, I picked up Peach back in 2004, I believe. This was before I went to any tournaments, by the way. My first tournament was early 2005, and I was not even 12 at the time. Uh, but like back in the early 2000s, they had something called the Nintendo Championship in Sweden. So it's basically the Swedish Championship in Nintendo. And during the qualifiers, it was mainly like very new games, and in the finals, it could be anything from like NES up to like the most current console. And in one of these competitions, it was a guy that played Peach, and ironically, he played against a Sheik as well. Pretty funny since both my brothers play Cheek these days. Um, and I had no idea about anything about competitive melee. I had no idea what crouch cancel was. And for some reason, this fucking move that we all have seen, and some of us love, Peach's down smash, for some reason it gave like 60% every single time. And I was like, what is this? I've never like played this character, but down smash always seems to give 60%, or at least 50. So I was like, alright, this is my character. This is my character. So I started to main Peach, and that was like the entire reason behind why I originally started maining Peach. And then I'll skip forward to half a year later, or whatever it was, when my first tournament happened, and I still played Peach at the time, but I got inspired by the guy that won the tournament, EK. He was a Marth main, best in Sweden, and shortly after also became the best in Europe for a while. And I really loved his Marth, very creative style, and I decided to start picking up Marth. And I went to my second tournament, and by that time I was pretty much like a dual main of Peach Marth. And eventually I started to play Marth instead. I still kept Peach in teams during all these years because Aniola's also played Marth, and we figured that double Marth sucks in teams. And he felt more comfortable playing Marth in teams, and I felt more comfortable playing Peach. So yeah, Peach has always been my main character in teams, even though I play Fox against some teams these days. But yeah, I played Marth for roughly 1.5 years until a tournament in early 2007, where like I went to that tournament, and I went into the tournament as a Marth main, but the way my bracket worked out, it kind of turned out to be like a Peach bracket for me. Like I played against IVP in losers, and Aniola's played against IVP in pools and beat him with Peach. So he told me that he believes I should go Peach instead of Marth. And Aniola's have been giving me a lot of good advice over the years. So I was like, all right, I trust your judgment. So I'll go Peach. And I win a very close set, 2-1. And I advance. And after that, I play against Smash Alex. He was like a top 3 player in Sweden back then. But for this tournament, he plays Samus, which is not originally his like main character. He was a Sheik main at the time. But for this tournament, he decided to go all Samus. And I didn't really like the Marth Samus matchup, so I was like, alright, I'll play Peach instead. And I'm up 2-1 against him. And that's when the crowd start cheering for the Sheik. And he brings out the Sheik. And I still fuck him up and beat him 3-1. So that was a really good win for me. Because that guy in Call W, like, they were also Smash Brothers. Both of them used to be like demons for me back in the day. Like, they were better than me for the first 2 years. But I feel like they always pretty much beat me by like an unreasonable amount. Because they were a bit better, but I feel like they pretty much always destroyed me. So that was a great win for me. My biggest win of my career up until that point. Even though he played Samus, that guy could play like so many characters. And then in the next round, I played against my rival at the time, Captain Jade, Sheik main from Stockholm. And I actually started off playing my own Samus against him. My Marth always lost against him in every tournament, in every money match. by like a slight margin. Like sometimes I got the lead, but I always lost 2-1 or 3-2. And my Samus did pretty good in friendly, so I was like, alright, I'll give my Samus a shot. But I lose. I go Peach. I go up to 2-1, and then I barely lose in game 4, and then he beats me pretty convincingly in game 5. And that tournament alone made me like realize that my Peach, despite not even playing her that much, I saw a lot of potential with my Peach. I was like, my Peach is arguably better than my Marth, even though I rarely even play her outside of teams. So after that tournament, I decided to go Peach only, pretty much. I still played a little bit of Marth and Samus, but that was like nothing I really practiced. And 2 months later, I got to play Smash Alex again, but by this tournament, he played Captain Falcon, and he beat me very convincingly, 3-1, I believe. And I also lost to Call W. But in that set, I switched around with my characters. My Peach didn't work, my Marth didn't work. I took one game with Samus, and then I got 4-stocked in game 4 in like 40 seconds or something. That's the biggest I've ever got destroyed in my entire life. And also the first time I ever saw Double Shine kill at the top. So I got killed by that like 4 times, 40 seconds, gave like 40 damage or something. So yeah, I lost to my 2 demons again. Or again, I beat Smash Alex at the tournament prior, but still. It still showed that I had a hard time with both Call W and Smash Alex. 3 weeks later, everything changes. When I play against Call W, I'm down 2-0 as usual, and then somehow I make a reverse 3-0 against him. I'm not really sure what happened. I don't have too many clear memories of the set. But then, 3 weeks after this, so this is 6 weeks after I got 3-1 by Smash Alex, and absolutely destroyed 3-1 by Call W as well. I managed to both 3-0 these guys. I beat Smash Alex Falcon 3-0, I beat Call W 3-0. And that's when I realized that these 6 weeks, my improvement ratio have been so crazy high. And I also played an extremely close set to Helios that was second in the time and reached my first grand finals in a tournament. I think I lost 3-1 or 3-2, but the matches were very, very respectable. And at this point in time, I realized that, alright, I should just stick with Peach. This character felt natural for me. And I started to look up more Peach videos online. And that's when I realized that people suck with this character. Like, what's going on with Peach's meta? I looked up some of the Peach players, and I was like, this character is not pushed at all. What's going on? And then I still saw that some of these guys placed like top 8 or top 16 in the US. And I was like, if this is all it takes to place top 8 or top 16 in the US, that's what truly convinced me that I could become the best in the world. Because I was not impressed at all. And I'm not saying that trying to be cocky. That's what I personally felt. And I was like 14 at the time. And my goal for my first tournament was always to become the best player in the world at one point. But that was the moment when I realized that this is not only a dream. This is something that actually can become my reality. So I kept working my ass off. And like my improvement ratio still like it went crazy. Then I went to a tournament in the summer of 07. It was like a major in Europe, and I got 4th, losing game 5 to Armada. That was like the best player in Europe at the time. And so I pretty much went from top 10 in Sweden to top 5 in Europe in like a few months, like half a year at most. So yeah. So basically the reason why I picked up Peach again after I dropped her was partly because I realized that she's already like my best character still for some reason, and partly because I realized how far behind this character is where it should have been. So I felt like when I picked up Peach again, she was one of the least optimized characters of the top 8. Today I believe she's one of the most optimized characters. Or like one of the most optimized characters in the game, I mean. But back then, it was clearly not the case. So for me, it became like a challenge of optimizing the character and also seeing how far I could take her. And even though I still play Fox as well, in tournaments, I still see it as Peach is kind of my character. And I like to push her meta further, and it's been so much fun. But it's kind of funny how some of these things works out sometimes. If I didn't have that bracket at that tournament, who knows when or even if I would have picked up Peach. Because some of these sets were also like pretty close. And if some stuff went slightly different, I might have been sticking with Marth. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I picked up Peach the first time and why I picked up Peach a second time a few years down the line. No one ever made fun of me for playing Peach when I was younger. My face when I thought Peach might not be good enough. I still don't think she's good enough to solo main. She loses too badly against Puff. And Marth and Fox are still like very rough matchups. You can do them, but I would not advise someone to play Peach against Leffen or Peach against PP's Marth. But at least those are very, like, it's still doable, even though it's crazy hard. But Puff, I do not think is doable at all. So, some of my opinions, even though they're not as strong, I still believe Peach is, like, quite overrated. But she's still a very solid character.